propitious. Things smaller and greater than the atom. So Quran says there are things smaller and greater than the atom. So Quran is not outdated, it is up to date. The similar message is repeated in Surah Yunus, chapter number 10, verse number 61, that in Allah's record is propitious. Things smaller and greater than the atom. In the field of geography, we learn in school about the coherent water cycle. This was first described by Sir Bernard Palissy in 1580. And he said, how does water evaporate from the ocean, forms clouds, the clouds move in the interior, how does it fall as rain, the rainwater flows into the ocean, and the cycle is completed. Previously, people thought, in the 7th century BC, phase of Meltus, he said that the spray of the ocean was picked up by the wind and it fell into the interior as rain. People did not know how did the underground water, the springs, where did they come from. So they thought that due to the pressure of the winds on the water, the thrust of the winds on the water, it fell into the interior as rain. And this rainwater seeped into the soil and returned to the ocean through a secret passage, the abyss, which was known at the time of the plateau as Tartarus. People believed in this theory of Descartes even till as late as 17th century. And philosophers like Aristotle's theory was believed till as late as 19th century, that water vapor evaporated from the soil, it condensed in mountain cavern, and these mountain caverns formed lakes which fed the spring water. Today we know that the underground water, the springs, it is due to the seepage of the rainwater. And the Quran says that in Surah Al-Zumar, chapter number 39, verse number 21. Seest thou not that it is Allah who sends down rain from the sky and seeps it in the sources in the ground, in the springs in the earth, and causes sown field of various colors to grow. The message is repeated in Surah Rum, chapter number 30, verse number 24. Allah sends down rain and dead earth brings it back to life. The Quran says in Surah Mu'minun, chapter number 23, verse number 18, that it is Allah who sends down rain in due measure. We are able to store it, and we are also able to easily drain it. The Quran says in Surah Al-Hijr, chapter number 15, verse number 22, it says that we send fecundating winds, wind impregnating, and cause rain to descend from the sky, and give you water in due measure. The Arabic word lawaki used here is the plural of laki, derived from lakaha, which means to impregnate or to fecundate. The winds carrying the pollen, they impregnate the clouds, and then rain falls. The wind causes the clouds to merge. There's condensation, there's lightning, and rain falls from the clouds. The Quran describes the complete water cycle. How does the water evaporate, how it forms clouds, how it moves in the interior, how it falls down, how it flows back into the ocean, in several places. In Surah Nur, chapter number 24, verse number 43. In Surah Naba, chapter number 78, verse number 12 to 14, as well as in Surah Rum, chapter number 30, verse number 48. The Holy Quran says in Surah Nur, chapter number 24, verse number 43, that we send mountain masses of clouds. What does the Quran mean by saying we send mountain masses of clouds? Today, if anyone has been traveling in an aeroplane, he will realize that when the aeroplane goes above the clouds and he looks at the clouds beneath, he will see that the clouds appear as mountain masses. Quran has said this 1400 years ago. There wasn't an aeroplane 1400 years ago. Quran describes hydrology and water cycle in several places in great detail. It's mentioned in Surah Al-Imran, chapter number 3, verse number 9. In Surah Araf, chapter number 7, verse number 57. In Surah Ra'd, chapter number 13, verse number 17. In Surah Furqan, chapter number 25, verse number 48 and 49. In Surah Fatir, chapter number 35, verse number 9. In Surah Yasin, chapter number 36, verse number 34. In Surah Jashia, chapter number 45, verse number 5. In Surah Qaf, chapter number 50, verse number 9 and 10. In Surah Waqia, chapter number 56, verse number 68 to 70. As well as in Surah Mulk, chapter number 67, verse number 30. The Quran describes the hydrology and water cycle in great detail. Let's discuss the field of geology. Today the geologists, they tell us that the earth we live on, the outer crust, it's hard and solid. And the deeper layers, they're hot and fluid and inhospitable for the existence of living creatures. The geologists, they tell us that the outer crust is very thin, hardly 1 to 10 miles. Less than 1% of the radius of the earth, which is 3,750 miles. And the outer crust is very thin, and there are high possibilities of it shaking. Today, geologists tell us it's due to the folding phenomena, which gives rise to mountain ranges. And these mountains, they prevent the earth from shaking. They act as pegs, as stakes. The Holy Quran says in Surah Naba, chapter 78, verse number 6 and 7, it says, "We have made the earth as an expanse, wal jibala autada, and the mountains as stakes." The Arabic word autad means stakes, means pegs, which we have discovered today. The Holy Quran says in Surah Jashia, chapter 88, verse number 19, as well as in Surah Naziyat, chapter 79, verse number 32. It says, "Wal jibala arsaha." We have made the mountains standing firm. There's a book by the title, The Earth, which is a very famous book, an authority in this field, which is referred by most of the universities throughout the world in this subject. One of its authors' name is Frank Press. And he gives the illustration of the mountain in this book called Earth as wedge-shaped. And he says the function of the mountain is to stabilize the earth's crust. And Quran says that. The same information in Surah Anbiya, chapter number 21, verse number 31, as well as in Surah Luqman, chapter 31, verse number 10, and Surah Nahl, chapter number 16, verse number 15, that we have set on the earth mountain standing firm lest it would shake. The Quran gives the functions of the mountain 1400 years ago, which we discovered today. In the field of oceanology, the Holy Quran says in Surah Furqan, chapter 25, verse number 53, "It is Allah who has let free two bodies of flowing water, one sweet and palpable, and the other salt and bitter. And between them there is a barzakh, a barrier, which is forbidden to be trespassed." The Quran repeats the message in Surah Rahman, chapter number 55, verse number 19 and 20. "Marajal bahrain yaltaqiyan, bainahuma barzakhun la yabghiyan." That it is Allah who has let free two bodies of flowing water, which meet, and between them there is a barrier which is forbidden to be trespassed. The Arabic word barzakh means a barrier, and the Arabic statement, "Marajal bahrain yaltaqiyan," means the flowing bodies of water, they meet and mix. Previously, the commentators, they could not understand the two opposite description of the two bodies of flowing water. It says they meet and mix, as well as it says there's a barrier between them. The commentator of the Quran could not explain what did this verse actually mean. It was confusing. Today, we have come to know with the help of science that there is a slanting barrier between the two bodies of salt water and sweet water, between the salt sea and the sweet sea. And whenever water passes from one sea to the other sea, it loses its characteristic and gets homogenized into the water it flows. There is a barrier, but this barrier is called as a transitional homogenizing space or area. Both the waters, though they meet and mix, but the characteristics yet remain the same. Salt water remains salt, the sweet water remains sweet. Similar thing can be observed in Egypt when River Nile flows into the Mediterranean Sea, as well as the example of Gulf Stream, which starts in the Gulf of Mexico, though it flows for thousands of miles. Both the water, salt and sweet water, they are distinct. And if you're traveling in a boat, and if you pick up water from one side of the boat and water from the other side, you'll find that both the waters are different. One is sweet and the other is salty. Even the temperature differs. Even in the area of Gibraltar, the Atlantic and the Mediterranean Ocean, there is an unseen barrier. And this was confirmed, this phenomena which the Quran speaks about, was confirmed by Professor Hay, who is a leading Marine of USA. The Quran asks the people that which of the favors of thy Lord will you deny? In Surah Rahman itself, chapter 55, this verse, then which of the favors of your Lord will you deny, is repeated no less than 31 times. It speaks about a sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about trees, about the heavens, and then asks you, then which of the signs of thy Lord will you deny? It speaks about what cycle, and then asks you, then which of the signs of thy Lord will you deny? It speaks about the barrier between the sweet and the salt water, and then asks you, which of the signs of thy Lord will you deny? The Quran in one chapter itself, it's asking its reader, which of the signs of God Almighty will you people deny? It's prodding you that all these signs, from where do they come? Which of the signs will you deny? In the field of biology, the Holy Quran says in Surah Al-Anbiya, chapter number 21, verse number 30, وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ. We have created every living thing from water. Will you not then believe? Imagine, in the deserts of Arabia, where there was scarcity of water, the Quran says everything was created from water. Who would have believed in it? Anything else the Quran would have said, people could have believed. Water, where there was scarcity, the Quran says 1400 years ago, every living thing is created from water. Today we have come to know that cytoplasm, which is the basic substance of the living cell, contains 80% water. Every living creature contains 50 to 70% water. And without water, the living creature cannot survive. It's a must. The Quran asks you, وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ. We have created from water every living thing. Will you not then believe? Allah is saying that everything is created from water, which you came to know today. Quran mentions that 1400 years ago. Will you not then believe? It's asking you a question. It wants a reply. The Quran says in Surah Nur, chapter number 24, verse number 45, that we have created every living animal from water. The Quran says in Surah Furqan, chapter 25, verse number 54, we have created the man from water. Imagine, 1400 years ago, the Quran mentions this. In the field of botany, we have come to know recently that even the plants have got sexes, male and female. Previously we did not know that. Even the unisexual plant has got distinct characteristics of male and female. The Quran says in Surah Taha, chapter number 20, verse number 53, it is Allah who sends down water from the sky and causes diverse pairs of plants to grow, each separate from the other. That means the plants have got sexes, male and female. The Quran says in Surah Rad, chapter number 13, verse number 3, we have created every kind of fruit in pairs, 2 and 2. Even the fruits have got sexes, male and female. In the field of zoology, the Holy Quran says